Cultivating the Buddhist Heart: How to Find Peace and Fulfillment in a Changing World by Nichiko Niwano. Chapter 2: The Preciousness of Life. The preciousness of life. To be born human is a rare thing. There is nothing as strange and marvelous as life. Everything starts with wonder at the preciousness of life. Springtime, when new greenery sprouts and flowers bloom, is a season to which most people look forward with pleasure. This was especially true for me during the 10 years of my childhood I spent in Suganuma, which was buried under snow for nearly half the year. In late March or early April, the snows began to melt to reveal the pale green of young butterbur stalks. No less welcome than flowers is the spring grass peeking through the mountain snow. This verse, by Fujiwara no Ietaka, one of the poets included in the Shin Koken Wakashu, the new collection from ancient and modern times, is one of my favorites. The fresh green grass revealed by the melting snow is as much a joyful portent of spring as are the cherry blossoms so lauded by the poets. For me, the butterburs of Suganuma were the harbingers of spring. Like the changing seasons, human life goes through its own cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death. This is in keeping with Shakyamuni's teaching that all things are constantly changing. A passage in the Dhammapada says, "Difficult it is being born human, difficult it is being alive now for those for whom death is inevitable, difficult it is to hear the right teaching of the Buddha, difficult it is to encounter the appearance of Buddhas in the world." To be born as a human being is a rare and marvelous thing. The life we have here and now is all the more precious when we know that we are destined to die. Likewise, the opportunity to hear the Buddha's teachings is a rare event. How wonderful it is that the Buddhas have descended to this world. The verse succinctly describes what is most precious in this world, that for which we should give thanks above all else. We have been given life as human beings. The first half of the verse reminds us what an extraordinary thing that is. The second half teaches us the importance of paying reverence to the Buddha, who propounded the Dharma for us, and of taking refuge in the Buddha and his teachings. Stop and think, why do I have life here and now? What a wonderful thing it is. The person who cannot feel grateful for having life cannot give thanks for anything. The rarity of being born human. Why were we born into this world as human beings? The life of each of us comes from our parents, who in turn received life from their parents, and from their ancestors long ago. We should be grateful for our existence. We also should stop to reflect on the reason for that existence. We take life for granted, but should pause and think about it. We were not born into this world of our own conscious will. Why then were we born as human beings? An extraordinary power is at work here. We were given life by a power far exceeding human volition. Some call this the power of the Buddha. To others, it is the power of God. Human beings, in fact all living things, are given life by the divine grace of God and the Buddha. I am a human being here and now. By the grace of the Buddha, I am alive. The more I reflect on this wonder, the more amazed and moved I am, the more deeply grateful I feel. No one can live without the sun. For that matter, we cannot live without the moon and the stars, or mountains and rivers. Our lives depend on plants, insects, and microbes. Everything within the universe is essential to our existence. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Rice and vegetables, animals, and fish thrive from this simple repetition, and by association, we human beings who partake of the rice, vegetables, animals, and fish are given life by the sun. We might even say that the sun rises each day just to imbue each and every one of us with life. Air also exists to give us life. The rains fall and the winds blow to give each individual life. We are alive because the entire universe is constantly working to give us life. We do not live of our own free choice, but rather are granted life by all the things that we encounter. The world contains victory and defeat, pleasure and sadness. We can savor these emotions because we were given life as human beings. If we awaken to this realization, we cannot help being filled with joy and thanksgiving. One unique life in all the universe. Earth is said to be the only planet in the solar system that can support human life. Earth is one of the 8 planets circling the Sun. The one closest to the Sun is Mercury, the next is Venus, then Earth, followed by Mars. Earth is the miracle planet, the only one able to support life. Venus is so close to the Sun that it is too hot to do so. Mars is farther away, and it does not appear to have any life forms either. Yet Earth, situated between those 2 planets, does have life. On a cosmic scale, the differences in the distances of these planets from the Sun are minuscule, but they are enough to make all the difference. It is a mystery among mysteries that the teeming life on Earth is linked in a marvelous chain of causes and conditions. Each individual existence, likewise, is a wonder and a mystery in itself. The human being lives in the womb for 9 months. Through this period, we evolve through various stages to become a mammal, and finally to become a human being. The history of evolution, spanning the more than 4 billion years since the origin of life on Earth, is condensed in this wondrous phenomena that occurs in the mother's womb. Each and every person's life is a recapitulation of evolution. In all the great expanse of the universe, we alone have received this unique gift of life on the miracle planet called Earth. Our drive to live to the fullest is rooted in the realization that our lives are unique and irreplaceable. To gaze on life. As long as we are alive, the beating of our heart and our breathing never cease, even when we sleep. Yoshio Toi, recipient of the Pestalozzi Award for Excellence in Education, wrote a short poem called Upon Awakening. Upon awakening, I was alive, not dead. I was alive without making any effort to live, asleep as I was. Yet when I awoke, I was alive. In the middle of a brand new morning that never was before, in ages past, I was alive. No, I was allowed to live. What a joy it is to wake up and know that one is alive. Those in good health often do not appreciate this. I have heard, however, that those who have experienced a major illness awaken each morning grateful to still be alive. The last line of Toi's verse states, "No, I was allowed to live." We do not live of our own free will, but are granted life by a power superior to ourselves. That is a great truth. Even as we sleep, our lungs continue to function, and our hearts continue to pump blood. The body never stops the work of living. We fall asleep, and we wake up. We are alive. No, we are allowed to live. Life is truly an extraordinary thing, as close observation not only of ourselves and other human beings, but also of other animals and of plants, clearly shows. The Japanese have a special fondness for cherry blossoms. As the warm days of spring approach, the cherry trees burst into splendor. Soon thereafter, the blossoms are carried off by the breeze in a shower of petals. New green leaves replace the blossoms, and in the autumn the leaves fall and the cherry trees wait patiently for their next blossoming in the spring. The life process is a marvel to behold. The cicada spends a long time buried underground. It comes up for only 1 week of life above ground. Watch an ant carrying food to its nest. How does it know where to go? Who told the ant to bring food? This is an extraordinary life process. There is no end to the wonders of life that goes on all around us. Scientists and scholars can certainly take a more analytic view of the mechanisms of nature. What I see as an amateur when I observe the plants and animals around me is the unique workings of life. The wonder and joy I experience from these observations turn into wonder and joy at the miracle of my own life, my own existence. The marvel of reality. The afterworld is marvelous, but the real world is marvelous too. Most marvelous of all, however, is that we are given life here and now. The world is full of awe-inspiring wonders, like the pyramids in Egypt and the famous giant pictures on the surface of the earth in Peru, known as the Nazca lines. No fewer are the marvels closer to home. Many things cannot be explained, no matter how hard we try, but the greatest mystery of all is life itself. It is impossible to encompass the infinite reality around us by human reasoning alone. For example, it is impossible to know what will occur tomorrow. No one knows what happens to us after we die. That is one more wonder we cannot explain. Yet even more fascinating than the mystery of death is the mystery of life. It is common in religious circles to speak of miracles. I think the greatest miracle of all is that we are given life as human beings to exist in the here and now. That kind of miracle cannot be explained in words. As I wrote above, it is by the grace of the Buddha that we receive life and are able to experience the joys and anguish of human existence and the wonders and worries of the world. Without life, we could not feel or experience anything. Know that your own existence is a miracle, and you will surely be filled with thanksgiving for the Buddha's grace. Dependent origination, ever interacting. Each life is closely connected to the events of the world. Nothing is confined to only one person or one existence. The relationship of all things is the support by which we are able to exist. The ever-interacting and unbounded expanse of dependent origination defies comprehension by reason. All of life is linked. Flora and fauna, insects and human beings, all living things interact and give life to one another as part of one great life force. For example, we are able to breathe because the plants around us produce the oxygen that we need to do so. At the same time, the carbon dioxide that we expel helps the plants grow. We and the plants are thus interdependent, part of one and the same great life. There is no greater sorrow than to be cut off from the one great life of which we are all part. The late Mother Teresa was well known for the dedicated care she gave to dying men and women who had been abandoned by everyone else. She reassured these people by telling them, "You were born into this world because you were needed." Her words gave great comfort to those who had long lived without human contact, for she was reminding them that their lives were as precious as anyone else's, and that they were not, after all, cut off from human society. The following verse by Hakushu Kitahara is from his poem, Two Rose Compositions. On a rose bush, a rose blooms. There is nothing to wonder at. A rose blooming on a rose bush is not unusual or wonderful in any way. It is perfectly within the natural order of things. Yet, is not this natural order of things baffling? When we observe the infinite workings of the universe, the complex interactions to which we owe our own existence as human beings, we cannot help being filled with awe and joy at the wonder of it all. The rose, the human being, both are marvels of existence, of precious, irreplaceable life. Everything in this world exists in an ever-interacting and unbounded expanse of dependent origination, in which everything depends upon everything else. When we awaken to the wonder of this existence, we become able to empathize with the pain of other human beings, to understand and accept the feelings of others. The key to this awakening is the law of transience taught to us by Shakyamuni. I am my own Lord throughout heaven and earth. Each of us is one of a kind, unique in the world and in the universe. Nothing is more precious than this unique life. Legend has it that as soon as Shakyamuni was born, he took 7 steps and announced, I am my own Lord throughout heaven and earth. Common sense tells us that a newborn baby could not possibly do such a thing. This legend undoubtedly is intended to illustrate Shakyamuni's greatness, to show how deserving he is of veneration. I like to think, however, that the newborn Shakyamuni's words, I am my own Lord throughout heaven and earth, were his way of saying that the life of each and every human being is unique and precious. Each of us is an existence without a duplicate in all the universe. Shakyamuni's claim, I am my own Lord, is a statement about the Buddha life that is absolute and peerless. The famous birth words of Shakyamuni are an affirmation of the intrinsic value of human life and of every other existence, all of which partake of the life of the Buddha. Through his birth and enlightenment, Shakyamuni teaches us of the rarity of all things in the universe. His enlightenment elucidates the fact that everything in life has meaning, even sorrow and suffering. Shakyamuni alone is not the Lord of this world. Every human being, everything, is equally the Lord, equally distinctive and precious. There is only one you in this world, and in the whole universe. That is a truly remarkable and priceless thing. We are all different. Some people have round faces, others have faces that are square. Some people have short tempers, others are patient. Some people like to study, others do not. Whatever our individual traits, each of us is one of a kind. Transience teaches us that no two things are ever alike. No two human beings can be exactly the same. In acknowledging the law of transience, we accept that each of us is an invaluable existence that cannot be compared with anyone else. Shakyamuni taught us that all life is interconnected in a single great life that is always and infinitely changing. Each individual is part of this process of constant change. Each of us exists as an exceptional and ever-changing life. Each has his or her own special personality. Yet, even though we appear to be independent individual beings, at the same time, we are all part of a larger, greater life. The world of the Absolute. Human beings have often ignored the interconnectedness of life, destroying nature to satisfy their selfish desires. Buddhism teaches that not only human beings, but all life, flowers and insects, and even the pebbles along the roadside, is rare and to be cherished. Everything that exists is linked to everything else, helping support all life. In a sense, the world that we know is a single great life, and we are only one small part of that life. The Buddha life is to be found even in grass and trees, in mountains and rivers. We human beings, however, prefer to distinguish ourselves from all other forms of life, believing that we are of more value than anything else. But Shakyamuni teaches that all life has value. His view of the world transcends the concept of relative worth, which attaches greater importance to one thing than another, judging this to be superior to that. What Shakyamuni sees is the world of the Absolute. Everything in the world has life, and everything that lives has irreplaceable value and represents the absolute law. Everything is made to live through the one truth, the one Dharma. Once we realize this, such narrow views as this is inferior or that must be excluded vanish. The Buddha nature in everything. Human beings are not superior to everything else. A robot can do things that people cannot. This is what gives a robot value. The truly noble person is the one who recognizes that everything has value. Someone who thinks that he or she has greater value than others, and who looks down on other people, is not a person to be respected. This is the view expressed by Masahiro Mori in The Buddha in the Robot. He confirms the depth of the Buddhist concept that everything possesses the Buddha nature. The Buddha nature is to be found not in human beings alone, but in all things. Another way to put this is to say that everything innately possesses the Buddha nature. Ryoan-ji, a famous Zen temple in Kyoto, attracts visitors from around the world to view its rock garden, one of Japan's cultural masterpieces. To the Buddha's eye, however, a small pebble alongside the road is of equal value to the famous rocks of Ryoan-ji. What the Ryoan-ji garden does is help us to see the truth, that each and every rock and pebble is precious and distinctive. The Lotus Sutra teaches us that everything has value. Everything is to be extolled. You and I, this flower and that tree, this living being and that robot are all worthy of praise. Each of us has value and special meaning. We should respect and praise one another, just as we should respect and praise all things. Despite our superficial differences, we are given life by one all-encompassing life force. That is the world that is revealed to us when we acknowledge the law of transience. The true essence. Dogen, the founder of the Soto Zen sect, wrote the following brief verse about the natural features of the 4 seasons in Japan. In spring, flowers. In summer, the cuckoo. In autumn, the moon. In winter, the snow cold and bright, chilly and bracing. This poem about the changing seasons captures the true essence of things. Our true essence is our Buddha nature, which is the reality of our innermost being. Our perceptions of the seasons are influenced by our likes and dislikes, but it is self-centered to denounce the summer for being too hot, or to praise the spring for its lovely blossoms. The world of the Buddha and the grand realm of nature transcend such self-centered values. Spring is delightful simply because it is spring. Summer is worthwhile because it is summer. The same is true of autumn and winter. The seasons come to us in their true form. Our personal likes and dislikes have nothing to do with the essence of the four seasons. In the same way, we cannot judge someone to be of value simply because she is eloquent, or another to be of less value simply because he is not good at sports. When we look at things and think about what we see, we tend to pass judgment based on what is convenient for us. We decide that what suits us is good and what does not is bad. But such thinking only narrows our view of the world. As ordinary as people may be, that does not mean they have no value. Each of us is precious. There is no need to rely on excessive humility or false pride when we know that life is glorious in and of itself. The Buddha nature exists in each of us. The precious gift of life that we have been granted provides meaning for our existence. It is truly a revelation to realize the preciousness of all life, including our own. This knowledge gives us the courage to live to the fullest and helps us to see how wonderful life is. The eternal life of the Buddha. If we look with the eyes of wisdom, we see that human life is eternal. We are sustained by eternal life and are living within eternal life. To understand the meaning of transience is to recognize that everything in this world is always changing, from the furthest past to the furthest future. Nothing remains the same from one moment to the next. In other words, transience is eternity. Chapter 16 of the Lotus Sutra, the revelation of the eternal life of the Tathagata, says that the Buddha's life is eternal. If the Buddha's life is eternal, that means our own lives are also eternal. Yet, our actual lifespans are limited, even as they are subject to constant change. For us, yesterday is different from today. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is yet to come. It is not possible for us to live yesterday or tomorrow. We have no choice but to live today, to live each day afresh. To live from yesterday to today, and from today to tomorrow is, in a sense, a process of living the eternal today, in the eternal now, that is not past, present, or future. Human beings are like waves in the great sea of the eternal now. We ebb and flow, live and die. Just as no wave in the sea appears more than once, so no human life is exactly the same as another. Each of us leads a life that is unique, that can never be replicated once it is gone. Yet despite the constant appearance and disappearance of the waves, the great sea exists for eternity. Life can only be experienced once. Our eternal life ebbs and flows like the tide of a great sea. No human being can be born into the same life again. We live in this world only once, but we live, are allowed to live, within the eternal life of the Buddha. The world is eternal. Human life is finite, but we are endowed with the ability to recognize the law of transience, the truth, and the Dharma. This makes it possible for us to touch eternity, to join our finite lives with infinite existence. To recognize the law of transience is to know everlasting life. By joining our limited lives to that of eternity, we are able to live forever. Your life, my life, each is interconnected with everything in the world. We exist in the constantly interacting and unbounded expanse of dependent origination. Not a single life can be detached from this framework. Our lives are made possible by the complex interaction of all life. Life is not limited to the individual, but extends to all the world, and the life of the world continues regardless of the birth and death of the individual. Each human life must end someday, but the world is eternal. Buddhism teaches us that the self and the other are one and the same absolute. When we recognize that all life is part of one great life, it is only natural that we should seek to live in harmony with one another. Consider the self-centered person who awakens to the fact that his or her life is one with all of life. With that awareness comes the ability to live in a world without conflict, the world of eternal life. A word on time. Let us look at the eternal present, eternal life, from another perspective. Our perception of time is defined by the calendar. We think in terms of the day, the month, and the year. We see time as a straight, continuous line. But real time is more than just one day following another in sequence. It is, in fact, three-dimensional rather than linear. The time that is the present encompasses everything in the past. In terms of human life, the present, the here and now, is a condensation of our past and a portent of our future. Everything we do, everything that happens around us, becomes the causes and conditions of our future. Thus, the present carries the accumulation of the past, while at the same time it is pregnant with the future. Eternity is contained in each passing minute. The fact that today is designated as a certain day of a certain month of a certain year is one aspect of reality. The fact that today, this very moment, is finite and yet part of eternity is another. We who live in this present that contains both past and future are, in essence, living in the eternal now. This is especially true when we strive to live each day to the fullest. Our perception of time is usually grounded in the present. Buddhism describes this as like standing on a riverbank and watching a boat sail down the river. Zuiru Nakamura, a former president of Risshō University in Tokyo, writes of this in his book Honto no Michi, Okekyo, The True Way, the Lotus Sutra. We call the instant that exists right now the present, the one that comes before it the past, and the one that comes after it the future. But this is like standing on a riverbank and watching a boat sail by. We refer to the expanse of water that the boat travels before it comes to where we are standing as upstream. When the boat reaches the point where we are standing, we consider it to be right in front of us, and when it passes us, we say it has gone downstream. He continues, but the reality of existence is that we live in tandem with the passage of time. The present moment will, in the next instant, become the past, and the future next moment will, in an instant, become the present. This suggests that it is a mistake to speak of time in terms of past, present, and future, defined by one fixed moment in the passage of time. Time passes, just as life passes. The past was once the present, and the future eventually will become the present. We live from moment to moment. After all, if we are in the boat, it will always be right in front of us, neither upstream nor downstream. I think this passage illustrates well that we live in the eternal now. We are riding in the boat and floating along the stream of time. Acknowledging this gives us the strength and the motivation to lead our lives in the now to the fullest. Reverence for life. When we become aware of the preciousness of our own life, we become aware of the preciousness of other lives too. We are thankful for each encounter of every day. Thus opens the realm of praise. Thank you for this day. Risshō Kōsei Kai members often say in greeting each other, palms pressed together in reverence. We are grateful for the day, grateful for every encounter of the day. We are granted life in a truly wonderful world. Yet how often do we realize this? Our daily greeting of thanks for the day, offered in the spirit of worship, helps to gradually impress on us the significance of our existence and the marvels of the world in which we live. This gesture of greeting is an acknowledgement of the preciousness of life before us, a sign of respect for the person we are greeting. Our reverence is reciprocated in the same way by the person we are greeting. This makes us aware that the life of the person before us and our own life are equally precious. Kyoto's Sanju Sengendo, famous for its 1001 statues of the Thousand-Arm Kannon, is the main hall of a Rengyo Inn, a temple dedicated to the Lotus Sutra. The multiple arms of Kannon, Avalokiteshvara, represent the diverse ways in which that Bodhisattva saves us from the trials and tribulations of human existence. The two arms at the center of each figure are raised, palm to palm, in the gesture of reverence, demonstrating the Bodhisattva's respect for us. It also expresses the Bodhisattva's entreaty for the revelation of the Buddha nature within each of us. Seldom do we recognize the preciousness of our own lives. Even less often do we show reverence for our own being, but doing so should be an important part of our existence. I am a Buddha, you are a Buddha. This talk of reverence brings to mind the Bodhisattva never despised in the Lotus Sutra. The Zen priest Ryokan, famous for his calligraphy and poetry, wrote this about Bodhisattva never despised. A bhikkhu needs to do nothing but practice what the Bodhisattva never despised did. A bhikkhu is a Buddhist cleric. Most likely, Ryokan wanted to say that more than any other kind of training, a priest's time and energy are best spent in emulating the Bodhisattva never despised. The Bodhisattva never despised showed his reverence for everyone he met by declaring, "You will become a Buddha." For those who are not aware of the preciousness of their own lives, these words were simply bewildering. They became angry. "Don't talk about such nonsense," they cried. Some even threw stones at him. All people are enlightened by the recognition of the truth and the Dharma. By telling people, "You will become a Buddha," the Bodhisattva never despised was urging them to recognize the truth and the Dharma and awaken to the preciousness of their own existence. By calling on others in this way, we can help them to reach enlightenment. Once you realize how important your own life is, it becomes obvious that the lives of others are equally precious. You are grateful for all things and are able to express sincere thanksgiving. This is how we can build a world of mutual respect, a world in which I am a Buddha and you are a Buddha. Although we tend to be self-centered, much of the time, deep inside us is the wish to live in harmony with all things, to respect all things. By devotedly continuing our practice of pressing our palms together in reverence to one another, our respect and reverence for others will gradually grow to encompass our families, friends, community, and workplace, so that in each situation we can live in harmony, doing our best. This is the way, I believe, that we can change the world into a warm, cheerful, and welcoming place, overflowing with the joy of life. Worship the Buddha, worship human existence, worship all things. What a wonderful world this is. Only human beings are capable of worship, but this does not mean that we are in any way superior to other living things. Still, we should be grateful that we have been given life as human beings who are capable of worship. Our words invoking the Lotus Sutra, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, I take refuge in the Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the Wondrous Law, express our oneness with the universe, our oneness with the great life of the universe. Namu means to make oneself nothing, to give one's whole being to the Buddha, which is, after all, to give oneself over to the truth and the Dharma. Recite those words with reverence, and you will overflow with the joy of being supported by the eternal life.